All right. Well, welcome to today's presentation. I'm super excited. I feel bad for the people who are not here today. We got about half the people right now. Hopefully, people will start trickling in. If you have people who are on the way or left, have them come back. We're going to go ahead and dive right in. I'm going to get through the whole presentation today, guys. And today's going to be all about lead generation. And then obviously, we'll have a Q&A at the end. And you guys will be able to ask as many questions as you want. And I'm really excited to get this thing going. We're going to go ahead and start today because yesterday the chat got me a little distracted. So at the end, we'll do a Q&A. I'll probably bring a few people on live versus yesterday. I just did the chat. But let's go ahead and dive in. And I'm super excited to start this off with you guys. So today, we are going to be discussing how 1.5 million leads has produced over $100 million in sales and close to $1 billion in client sales. It's been quite a journey. I started back in 2017. My first year, I did $1 million when I really started making money. And now in 2023, we crossed the 100 million threshold right before the end of the year. So pretty fresh, pretty new, pretty amazing. Never thought I would ever do this much revenue, let alone 100 million. And what we're going to be covering today is how I was able to do that by being very, very good and experienced at lead generation. Now, for those of you who missed yesterday, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. On the left was what I went over in terms of where I started, $88 in my checking account, all the way to over $100 million in sales on the right-hand side. You can see 5 merchant accounts. If you add that up, it's over 100 million. And if you guys are not familiar with ClickFunnels, this is just a little bit more proof. This one up here, hopefully you guys can see my mouse with the 4 light up discs. That's for doing over 100 million. Again, we've worked with about 50,000 clients. And the main strategy that we're going to be talking about today that has really made a massive difference is called conversion conversations. And this has really changed everything for me and my clients and made me a lot more successful than I ever thought I could be. Now, first off, I want to define what conversion conversations is. This is the process of having a one-to-one conversation with a lead that convinces them to buy when they otherwise wouldn't have. So a lot of people, when they think of lead generation, they only think about the initial touch point or getting the initial click or an initial message. But what I really found was that when you can have or create a genuine one-to-one connection, you're going to get a lot more of these leads to book calls or buy your product and service. Now, originally, when I thought I started a business, I thought that the way you got rich, and I genuinely thought, this is not making this up, is for organic, you could post a link and people would click and I'd be rich. That's what I actually thought. So I thought that if I just posted a link on my Instagram, people would click it and buy. And the reason I thought that is I'd see a lot of popular influencers who get a lot of social media engagement. And I thought that must be how they make their money, only to find out later, a lot of them don't make nearly as much money as you'd think. And on the other side, I saw ads ran by a lot of internet marketers. And I thought, well, the only way to get people to buy from ads is to send them to a webinar and they'd all buy. And that's the only 2 ways to get traffic. It's either free or it's paid. Those are the only 2 ways. And so I thought it looked like this. And maybe some of you guys can relate. You would post content with the link and then you get magical signups for organic, which again is just free content, referrals, social media, etc. And then for ads, I'd run an ad and they'd watch my webinar and then they would buy. And that's how I thought it worked, which in reality, it just doesn't. This is how it actually works, or this is how it works if you do it this way. Is it's a little bit of a joke, but I was just praying and crossing my fingers and hoping that I would get results. And as a lot of us know, that's not a great way to go through your life, is crossing your fingers and praying and hoping it works out. You need an actual plan of attack that's going to work. Now, a lot of people will say once they see that, they'll go, well, Tanner, why doesn't that work for me? It works for blank, it works for this person or that person. And if it does work for someone, usually it's going to be one of these 2 scenarios. It's going to be either one, you're not a world-class marketer yet, and so those people are just better than you. And that's okay. When I first started working out, or I started my business, or I was an engineer, I wasn't the best. I started at 0. And then number 2 could be is that everyone else is already doing the same thing, so you don't stand out. What people don't understand is in business, the more you stand out, the more you differentiate yourself, the more people will buy. The more you are similar to other people, the better you have to be at marketing and sales, right? So that means someone has to lose because there's a lot of options. Now, in terms of scaling, one of the things you'll hear me say a lot is, how do you scale and beat others? It's by doing things they aren't willing to do, meaning to scale the unscalable, right? To do things that most people think are too tedious, they're too hard, takes too much time, I don't want to do it. All those things is what can make you truly successful. by scaling what is considered unscalable by most people. So going back to what I just said, is this is how most people think they get clients. A lot of you on this call yesterday were asking questions about how to get clients. What do I do in my offer? What do I say? And a lot of you, I felt, are, crossing your hands together and praying that it simply works out. And obviously this is supposed to be a little bit of a joke, but it is also slightly serious, where a lot of business owners I see are just praying and hoping that people will interact with what they post and buy. Now, the way I got clients organically, because when I started this, I had a fitness offer, okay? So this is gonna apply. I want you to be very careful which information you take in here, because I'm gonna be talking about B2C offers, which is business to consumer, so non-financial ROI, and then B2B offers, which is a financial ROI. And depending on which type of offer you're selling, you're gonna do it slightly different. Not a huge difference, but it is slightly different. So if you're selling a B2C offer, I would DM a client. I would then push them to a 15-minute call. If you can see my mouse on the screen, then I do a sales call and then I close. If it was a B2B offer, I would go from the DM straight to the sales call. All right. The reason for that is, think of it this way. If I didn't know you and I came to your door and said, hey, John, my name's Tanner. I am the orange juice guy. Can I sell you some orange juice? John probably wouldn't like that. And so what I would usually do is I would go to the door and say, hey, John, my name's Tanner, just moved in the neighborhood, heard great things about you. I'm the orange juice guy. Just wanted to come give you and your family some orange juice. I don't know if you guys drink it, and just get to know you. Once I do that, then John, as he gets to know me, will be more likely to buy things from me in the future. And that's a lot easier to do with a B2C offer, because they're not usually used to being sold to. Now, if it's a B2B offer, let's say I'm a plumber and I come over and say, hey, John, my name's Tanner. One of your friends told me that you had a really bad clogging issue. I'm a plumber. I don't know if you'd be interested, but I'm happy to fix it for you, and I can do it for a one-time fee. That's a lot different conversation, because they already know what it is you do and they're ready to be sold, right? They're looking for something specific. So if they're a business owner typically and you're offering help, they know what's coming next. We'll get more into that, but that would be the difference between if you do a 15-minute call or a 60-minute call. Now, how most people, that's organic, right? So that's for free. This is for paid. So how most people try to get clients with ads is they'll run an ad to an opt-in page. An opt-in page, for those of you who are new, is just where you get information. So email, name, phone number. They'll then do emails on the back end, meaning back end just means once they collect their information, then they'll usually push them to a video presentation, webinar, VSL, and then do a call. This can work, but it's not optimal. So what I figured out is I started running a lot of my ads to Messenger. And then once they were in Messenger, I was able to get their email and phone number and start emailing them, texting them. We'd have setters who would start DMing them. We would push them to a Facebook group. We could also do 2 steps and invite them to live events and trainings similar to this one. This is a live training. Although I'm not selling anything, you guys got here probably from my email list. The cool part is you could now set up a sales call from all these ways. But if they don't come through this way, you can still send them to the VSL or the webinar. Same thing, it's a video presentation, and then try to close a call. So the difference between this and this may look very insignificant, but it makes massive differences. In fact, we used to get as high, I shouldn't say we still do, as high as 70% higher application rates. The more calls you have, the more sales you'll make. And it was simply by having a more strategic and thorough follow-up system. Now, I want you to notice there's a ton of ways to follow up, but everything stems from being good at messaging and talking. If you're not good at communication, you will have a very hard time being good at business. You have to be good at communication. You have to be good at reading people, hearing them out, acknowledging them, understanding objections. It has to be something you master. If you do not master communication, you'll never make a lot of money. You cannot be the oddball. You cannot be awkward. You have to be someone that people know, like, and trust. And the way you do that is you're a good communicator. Okay. So I want you to notice that. Now, there's 3 main ways to convert a lead into a sale. So we already went over there's organic and paid, but now there's 3 different types of leads. You have cold, which is a complete stranger, never talked to you, some random person on Instagram. You have number 2, which is a follower, a like, or a comment. So it's a little warmer, a little more familiar. And then you have ads, which is usually the highest intent, meaning they're raising their hand to fix a problem. The goal with paid traffic or lead generation in general is to move as far away from 1 and get as close to 3 as we can. Now, there can be caveats or exceptions. If you're Mr. Beast, we probably could just say, hey, his cold traffic is plenty good because they're so familiar with his videos, right? So then they actually turn into followers, likes, and comments, and he never has to move to ads. But that's the exception, not the rule. Most individuals, most business owners, individuals on this call, you're going to have to learn paid traffic because you're not a content creator, you're a business owner. There's a difference. Being a content creator is usually being good at content, videos. I'm not the world's best content creator, but I can sure as hell run a business. It's a different skill set. Doesn't mean you can't learn both, but usually most of you, you're trying to make money fast. You're trying to be rich sooner than later when you're young, right? So content creation, unless you hit it big quickly, takes time. It could take years, and it may not be what you're after. Building a business is numbers. There's a lot of rich people who you don't know, but there's no influencers that you don't know, right? If they're big enough, people know all the influencers, and that's a different type of lifestyle. There's nothing wrong with it. Just make sure you know what you're going after. Now, I want to have it as a side note. I went from $3,000 a month of ad spend, so about $100 a day at one point, to over $500,000 a month in a single year. So we went 3 to about 6 to 10 to 20, and then we just started cranking it 50, 100, 200. We started going really crazy. So I want you guys to also keep in mind, a lot of you that are being held back, it's because you don't spend. Paid traffic is calculated risk. It's like going to the casino, but knowing that you have an 80% chance to win instead of 50-50. If you do it right, the faster you spend, the more you spend in a month, the more you'll make with the right systems and processes. There's only 2 issues when this doesn't work. You either have a strategy issue, meaning what you're doing is wrong, or B, you have a skill issue. You're not good at sales, speaking, messaging, things that go hand in hand. And we'll get into that. I'm going to have specific examples. Now, what you're seeing here is an example of a cold DM to a 15-minute call. So this is for B2C offers. I'm not going to read these out, but if you go top to bottom, left to right, that is an example of something I may say to a stranger on the internet and then what they might say back. Now, this is a simplistic example. They could say anything they want, which is also why you have to be good at communication, because you cannot be a robot and just get people to say what you want them to say every time. But the goal, when I would do cold DMs for a fitness offer, and guys, again, cold DMs means I have a small following, I don't have any traffic, I don't have any money, all I have is a cell phone and a lot of time. Maybe you're at your parents' house, maybe you're in a bad financial situation, and so you have to generate your first sales without any cash. This is how you would do it. So just to give you a quick example, I would reach out when I sold fitness and say, hey, hope this isn't weird to say, but just had to tell you how cute your kids are. I'm from a family of 7 and, I love kids. Hope that's okay. And this would usually be to a mom. And the mom would say, if you guys can follow my mouse, hey, thanks so much. Not weird at all. And I'd say, great. And keep in mind, if you're not sure what to say, think of yourself sitting at a bar in person and say those things. So then what I would do is say, hey, awesome. By the way, do you work or stay at home? And then my mom stayed at home because there were so many of us. And again, I'm trying to keep this conversational. And a lot of times I'd say, yeah, I work. And I'd say, what do you do? And they'd say, I am blank. So now I want you guys to keep in mind, I'm getting ready for the transition. So as I'm talking to this person, I'm trying to move them into a sales pitch without it coming off salesy by keeping it conversational. So they don't know this, but the second I start talking to them, I'm looking for an opening to move it to the point of the conversation, which is to see if they have interest in fitness and if I can offer help. So I want you to watch how I do it. So once they say their job, I might respond, oh, wow, you're Superman. Does it keep you busy? And every person on earth will always say, yes, I'm very busy, because no one wants to be considered lazy. As soon as they said that, here's my transition. At the bottom left of the screen, I want you to look. Does that make it hard to work out or get to the gym? I can only imagine doing 2 things at once. And typically they're going to reply and say, yeah, it actually does, right? It does, but I try my best. And now I'm in the pitch. And if you guys look, as I switch, it's very conversational. I didn't go up and ask, hey, do you want me to sell you something? I didn't say, hey, I'm a trainer, and make it really obvious. I just made it very conversational. So I took it from, hey, your kids are really cute, to what do you do for work? Does it keep you busy? Does that make it hard to work out? And then they'll reply, and then we start going through, what's your goal? Top to bottom. What's your struggle? What have you tried before? Have you ever had a coach? And once we get through that, I now want to wrap it up, because they're starting to go, why is this guy asking so many questions? And so what I would say is, well, look, I don't know if you care or not, but I do this fitness stuff all day long, fill in the blank with whatever you sell. So I'm happy to give you some pointers if you're open to it, but I just like to ask first. And a lot of times they'd say, great. So I'd say, cool. So instead of typing out, 6,000 more messages, ha ha ha, I can do a quick call if that's cool. Here's my number. What's yours? And then I would move into a 15-minute call. We'll cover what we do on those calls in a second, but that's how I would get my first initial sales. I was doing $50,000 a month doing that process over and over. Now, is it ideal? Is it the best thing since sliced bread? Of course not. It's the worst. It takes the most effort. But when you don't have money, you spend time. When you have time, you spend money. Okay, so stick with me. We're going to get into the more advanced stuff. I start most basic to most advanced. Okay, for those of you who stay till the end, I promise you, it's always going to be worth your time. So the next one is then a 60-minute call. This is more B2B. So if you're selling business to business, so a financial ROI. So what I do now, Elite CEOs, is business to business. So I don't do a 15-minute because they know it's coming, right? Nothing's more strange or awkward than someone doing something or acting like they're not doing it when you know it's coming. So I usually would do a similar opener, keep it conversational, and I start with the compliment. So let's assume the guy has a car. So I might say, hey man, that Corvette is sick. I was thinking about getting one. Do you like it? And he's like, yeah, I love it. And then I just immediately transition. I'm like, yeah, can't say I'm much of a car guy, but I do like the Corvettes. How's business? How are your goals coming along? Again, just if I'm at a bar and I'm talking to him, there's nothing weird about that. If he's a business owner, has a business, that's a normal question. And he's like, yeah, it's good. How about you? And I'm like, yeah, business is good. Any struggles or goals this year? And, they usually will say something about leads or sales. Again, just follow my mouse. And I'll just ask, yeah, well, what have you tried so far? How's that gone? And they'll usually tell me, hey, I've hired a few people or whatnot. And as we go through this conversation, I'm not going to finish it. You guys can read it. But all I'm doing, again, is I'm offering help. And I just say, look, I don't know if you need help with this or not. This is what I'm really good at. If you're open to it, I'm happy to do some pointers, but just want to, make sure before I start offering stuff. And then what I would do is I would send them a form. They'd fill out a form, and then we would move to the sales call. All right. So that is the 60-minute call versus the 15-minute call. The difference with a 15-minute is you do the 15-minute, then you have them do an application, and then you do a 60-minute call. If you're doing a 60-minute call, you just go straight to the application and then take the sales call. Okay. It's little nuanced, not too much more complex. It's just different for different types of offers. Okay. So if you're looking for a framework, this is the picture you can take a picture of. The 15-minute, you're just going to add in a little bit more. You're just going to relate. You're going to ask what they do for work, ask if it keeps them busy, and then transition. If it's a 60-minute, you'll relate, and then you go right into the business goal. So you're only crossing off 2 steps. The rest of it is very similar. It's not much different. If you're not getting a good response, you're probably saying something strange. You're probably saying something weird. That's okay. You're not supposed to be good day one. Be willing to put the work in. I've done so much work over the last 6 years. That's why people will look at me and say, hey, Tanner seems really good at this. It's because I've done it a million times. I've done it so many times, it's boring to me. That's the goal. When you become an expert, it actually becomes boring. That's a good thing. So this is the structure. Now, a lot of people will see that and go, Tanner, that's too easy. It's not always like that. And I agree. It isn't always like that. But you have to understand that conversations are chess. And I cannot lay out every single strategy on this call. Right? This is the strategy. It's not the implementation portion. If you need help, you guys heard me talk yesterday. That's where you hire a coach, you hire a company. Doesn't have to be me. It could be anyone, whoever you trust. But conversations are like chess. And so what you need to be thinking of is, what question do I have to ask them to get them to think the way I want them to think? Everything in life is created by the person who views the environment. The feelings they have, the thoughts they have are ones that they've created. Doesn't mean it's actual reality. That might sound woo-woo to you, but it's not. What I mean by that is, if I go to a basketball game, I bet half of you on this call love basketball. I live right across the street from the Miami Heat Stadium. Half of you hate basketball. So we could go and watch a basketball game, and there would be a completely different experience for half of us than the other half. But we experience the same thing. So when someone says, this doesn't work, I've tried this and it didn't happen, or business sucks, a lot of times what I do is I don't tell them they're wrong. I just say, well, why do you think that? Tell me more about that. And once I understand how they view the world, I can easily interject my thought and get them to change. So for example, let's say I said, hey, John, what are you struggling with? He says, ads. I can't get ads to work. They don't work. Facebook ads suck. And I say, well, what do you mean by that? And he goes, they just have never worked for me. I've tried 3 times, 4 times, 10 times, whatever. And I say, well, John, let me ask you this. Do you think Facebook ads work for someone out there? Because if everyone's paying Facebook millions of dollars, they have to work for someone, right? And he's like, well, yeah. I go, so it's not that they don't work. It's just that you haven't done it well enough yet to get them to work for you, right? And all of a sudden, I haven't told him he's wrong, but he's completely shifted his way of thinking based on the questions I've asked. So I want you guys to understand, I can convince anyone to do almost anything, and selling is ethical manipulation. Don't be mistaken. It is manipulation. You're changing how someone views something with strategy, with tactics, with persuasion. But as long as it's ethical and you believe in it, it's totally okay. That's why religion gets argued about a lot, politics, because people are very passionate and they truly believe in what they're selling. So you're always selling. It's just if you're being sold or someone's selling you, don't make any mistake about that. We don't convince by telling, we convince by asking with childlike curiosity. If you tell someone that their religion is stupid, that's not going to go over well. But if you say, you know what, that's a great point. Let me ask you though, why do you believe that? What is it about that that makes you think that's the truth? When you show love and curiosity in people, they're more willing to listen. This is a skill you have to learn. It's not something you're born with. So if you're not good at this to start, it's okay. Just be aware of that. So that's why if you're not getting the response you want, it may not be going well. We're going to go over numbers and what numbers to look for. So you guys understand, okay, if I do this, Tanner, it's good to know what the numbers you're looking for, because if you're not sure how many messages you should have and how many book calls, etc., you don't know if you're doing it right. So we're going to cover that. Now, this is a tier 2 conversation. What we did before was tier 1. So that's the hardest conversation to have. That's an organic conversation, cold DMs. It's the hardest there is. It's like knocking on doors. I'm not going to read this out. I want you guys to read this. I'm going to keep it on the screen for a bit, but this is a follower. I want you to see how much easier this conversation is because she follows me. I just go straight into it, right? I don't have to give her any compliment. I just say, hey, Jamie, what's up in your world? And I just immediately will start messaging her. It's significantly easier when there's more trust. That's why people will say, hey, you need to build a following. It's not necessarily true, but that's part of why they say that. That's part of why I love paid ads, because instead of building a following, I'll pay for eyeballs. And I know if I get X amount, I'll convert X amount into sales. Okay, I hope that's clear. Okay, this is another person. So they responded to my story. Again, I just take them through the process, right? Just going straight to it. I'm not wasting a lot of time. Something that you guys can take away is I acknowledge what they say, and then I always ask a question. Whoever's asking the question is in charge of the conversation. So I always acknowledge, I don't ignore, I will acknowledge, and then I will immediately ask a question, okay? This is the last one I'll show you. This individual actually paid me $50,000 in a year. I believe it was $100,000 a year. Excuse me, it was quite a bit of money. This guy paid me more money in a month than I was making in a month at the time. Really changed my life. Same thing. I just reached out. He was following me, started asking if he needed help, offered a 15-minute link, talked to him, booked a sales call later on, closed him. Okay, so a lot easier when they're following you, which is also why I'm a proponent of paid ads, boosted posts. We're going to talk about that. Don't spend your time trying to be an influencer. That's a long path, and a lot of people aren't very good on camera. I'm not saying you can't do it, but being Mr. Beast is much harder than being a successful business owner. You don't have to be Mr. Beast to be successful or be rich, okay? It's a numbers game. It's all about numbers. Numbers in, numbers out. Now, again, I want to just point out, did you notice how much more trust was built with a warm lead? Okay, so way less steps, way easier. The key to getting rich is not making $1 million. It's making $1 million in a year or in a month. So when you get rich, you're not doing anything different. You're doing things faster than someone else. People aren't impressed that I've done 100 million if it took me my whole entire life. Maybe some people would be, but really it's because it took me 6 years. That's why people are impressed. Okay, so to get rich, you're doing the same things in a faster time frame. If I can speed up a process and I can do the same thing over and over faster, I will make more money and therefore become wealthy, which is the goal of everyone here. So that's organic. Now we're going to go into ads. Okay, so first we did cold DMs, then we did followers, right? So that could be a mixture of, coming from social media or people following your content, whatever. And now we're going to ads. This is tier 3. This is maximum scale. This is how I built my company. I didn't build it by building this massive following or posting all the time. You guys see me post a lot more now, but that's because I have a team of 70. When I started, I didn't post content for over a year because it wasn't necessary, because I knew the more conversations I had, the more sales calls, the more closes I'd get. All right, so now we're moving into ads. This is tier 3. Now, When you're running ads, if this is new to you, it's okay. This is called Facebook Business Manager. This is where we run a predominant majority of our ads. We do either DM ads, which you're going to choose the engagement function that you see there, or we're going to do sales, which is straight to page ads. A DM ad is literally how it sounds. If you click on an ad and it goes into IGDM, direct message, that is a DM ad. If you run straight to page, when you click on an ad, the first thing you see will be a website. That's what straight to page means. It goes straight to a page. So those are the two types of ads you can run. It is easier to scale straight to page ads. It's just harder typically. So if you can have people click on your ad, go to a website and book a call or buy something, do it. It's just a lot harder. That's why I'm a bigger fan of the conversion conversations method, because it allowed me to scale past people who are actually better than me at marketing, because I was willing to have more conversations, more follow-up, etc. Okay. Now, the next slide, this is the campaign level. The campaign is what is the objective of the ads. So if the objective is I sell fitness, you could type fitness ads, right? If the objective is to get dog owners, you could say dog owners. It doesn't matter. It's just what's the objective. The second level is what you call the ad set. The ad set is who you're targeting. You're telling Facebook or Instagram, I am targeting these types of people. What you can see here is I'm choosing the messaging apps function. That's a DM ad. If I was doing straight to page, I would choose the website function up here. Okay. Again, I'm just breaking down how this works. I'm keeping it super simple. As these presentation goes along, it gets more complex. So just stick with me. These are different types of ads that I've set up for different offers. So these are 6 different business accounts, if you look, and they all have different offers. And so they have different targeting. Okay, I just wanted you guys to see it from a high level view. This is the ad set level. So as you guys can see, this is the ad set, this is the ad set, this is the ad level. The ad level is what people actually see on Facebook and Instagram. So if you guys see the highlighted red pictures, that is what the ad would look like to a prospect on the internet. This is what they see. So this is the back end. This is behind the scenes. And then what they see is right here circled in the red squares. Okay. These are different types of ads I ran for different types of offers. I'm just doing a big overview right now. Now, you can also track your Facebook spend. So for those of you who are new, maybe you're more experienced, you'll know that Facebook ad tracking is not very good. What that means is Facebook might say you spent $1,000 and got 30 leads, but in reality, you only got 25. Why does that matter? Well, if you're not getting the numbers that they say you are, that will change what you do, correct? So if I'm eating 3 cheeseburgers a day and I want a 6-pack and I'm getting it, then I'm going to keep doing it. If I'm not, then I'm going to want to adjust. So what this software is, this here in particular is Hyros. I'm not affiliated with Hyros. I don't care if you buy Hyros. I'm just showing you what we use because the presentation is how I've done 100 million in sales. What you guys are seeing is if you see the green numbers at the top and you see the red numbers at the bottom, what that is telling us is with this tracking, which of our ad sets are actually making us money. So it tracks it from the click to the opt-in page to the sales page, the whole journey. And so if you notice, you actually can't notice here, but these numbers here are the accurate numbers. I'm not going to get into why this software is more accurate than Facebook. I think that's going to bore you guys and you won't understand. But Facebook might have said, hey, let's look at the top line where my mouse is. Hopefully you guys can see my mouse where it says video blog Instagram. It says I got 8 sales. Facebook might say I only got 3 sales. So if I turn this off and I got 5 more sales, that's going to hurt how much money I can make. Hopefully that is straightforward. It's just, what's the actual numbers? That's what this tracking software is supposed to do. This is more high level. If you're not spending $20,000 a month on ads, skip this. Wait till you get there. Okay. Now, these are messenger conversations from ads. So when they click the ad, what happens is we will fire a link. I'm sorry these look a little blurry, guys. This is the OG days. I wanted to show you from day one. I didn't want to show you stuff we're doing now. I want to show you when I started so you can see that this is real. What they would do is click the ad and we would fire a link to our website page. And then once they clicked on that, great. But then we could also start a messaging conversation. So remember, the goal is that most sales take place between 7 to 10 follow-ups. So we want to follow up as many places as possible. It's not just, hey, hope they click this link and buy and cross our fingers. You can do that, but it's not how I became successful. So I'm showing you what I've done, not what I hoped it would be. I wish I could sit on my and cross my fingers and just it would work, but that wasn't reality for me. Again, I'm not going to bore you guys with this, but these are just more conversations, A to Z, of different individuals. It looks like this one actually here is 2023, so it's not that different. It's actually somewhat recent, looks like. But these are just different conversations coming from the ad. And you guys can see, all I really want you guys to see is us getting them to a booked call. So you can see here, we finally set a booking link. They booked a call, boom, bada bing. Then we send them a message after of what to watch before the call, and it's all done. Okay. That is ads. All right. So the goal here was to show you guys organic versus paid, the 3 types of leads you get cold DMs, you get followers, and you get paid ads, and then an overview of how you can go about attacking it. Now, the next part I want to do is I want to show you guys different strategies you can use to get your first sales. All right. If you're more experienced, you may have done some of these. This is how I get my clients their first initial sales. So this first one's called a 5 guys post. I'm not sure who invented it, but you may have seen this on the internet quite a few times. What you do is you follow this script. You would post on your social media. It's very quick. And you say, I'm looking for 5 people who want to blank in the next blank days without blank. So for example, let's say this is fitness. I just use fitness because it's easy. Everyone gets it. I'm looking for 5 people who want to lose 20 pounds in the next 3 days without giving up donuts. Okay. Obviously it has to be realistic, but you get the point. If that's you, comment ripped below and I'll see if you're a fit. If you're worried that people will think it's free, just add in a PS. This is a paid program. It isn't free. That's it. It's not that complex. Okay. The first message, once they comment, is you just go right into it and say, hey, I saw you commented on my post. Can you start by telling me what your goal is? And we'll see if it's a fit. That's all you have to do. Now, this is how a 5 guy should look. If you look at the left slide versus the right slide, the left slide is what I would recommend you do. If you post it on Instagram, Facebook, that sticks out more. Do not do the right one. The one on the right does not stick out. Do the one on the left. So try to make it short, sweet, punchy, and to the point. The goal is if you just started your business and you post this, is that you can get some initial sales, so you get cash, and then you can start running ads. Again, we want to get to ads as fast as possible. Why? We're not influencers. We are business owners. And to be frank with you, I don't want to have someone come to me and say, hey, I can make you successful if you get 1 million followers. Give me a break. That's not impressive. I make people who have no followers successful. That's the hard part. Okay. So I'm not here to make you guys insta famous. That's great if it happens. I'm here to make you rich. Okay. Cash wealthy. That's one strategy. The next strategy is what you call a boosted post. Now, what's cool about a boosted post is you can take any post on Instagram right now, go to the bottom right-hand corner. We're going left to right here. You'll see I circled boost post. Now, what's cool about a boosted post is for between typically 10 to 20 cents per profile view, meaning someone clicks on your IG profile, you can get someone to look at your stuff. So what I usually will do is I will boost a post. I'll choose profile visits. Okay, we're at the number 2, profile visits. Then number 3, you can also choose messages, but I typically wouldn't do that. The difference between profile visits and messages is profile visits usually will cost you 10 to 20 cents per view. A message objective could be a lot more expensive. So boosted posts, again, are to get your initial sales. So I typically will tell people do a profile view. And then the people who view your profile, 1 out of 10, usually will like, comment, or follow, and you can message those people. So for example, if you're getting a profile view for 10 cents and 1 out of 10 comments, that means you're getting a $1 lead. That's pretty good. Now, people might go, well, Tanner, why don't you do that at scale? Because at scale, I'll get messaged for spam. I can't message thousands of people a day on Instagram unless they've clicked on my ad. So then that's where you have to switch objectives. But to start, when you're only messaging 10, 20, 100 people a day, and you're only spending a little bit of money, it's a great way to do it on a low cost efficient budget. Now, moving over to number 4, you then would choose your audience. I usually would not do automatic. I would choose who you want to target, and then you choose your budget and you boost it. It's that simple. It's super simple. You can see your insights. If you go back to number 1 on the bottom left-hand corner where it says insights, you can see that, and you can see how effective your ad or boosted post is working. Okay, again, these are strategies to get your first initial sales. I'm trying to get you guys from $0 to $10,000 a month as fast as possible. Because once you can work on your business full time, that's where you make big money. 0 to 10,000 is the same as 10,000 to 100,000. So we're trying to get everything lifted off the ground. We still do boosted posts. I do millions of dollars a year, and we still do boosted posts to this day. It's not our only strategy, but it definitely is part of our strategy because it's really cheap and we can get a lot of views. The next way you can get a lot of sales, this is a post. You guys can go look. It actually has more engagement now. This is on my Facebook profile. So just type in Tanner Chidester on Facebook. You'll see it. A two-step is where you're giving something valuable away in exchange for them commenting. And then when they comment, you can go in and start pitching your services. So I'm going to read this out loud. This is a really good two-step. Not all your two-steps have to be this high level. But what I did is I compiled a document with all of the most important things from $100 million Leads by Alex Hormozi. It's a 27-page document with only the most actionable stuff to focus on. It will be far easier to reference than his book. Took me 15 hours to create. If you want it, 1, share this post. 2, screenshot your share. 3, drop it in the comment section. Myself or my team will send you the notes via DM. If you don't do that, you won't get it. I spent 15 hours. You can spend 30 seconds sharing. Thanks. So now we can message all the likes. We can message all the comments. We can even message the shares. And the sharing part, what's cool is it makes it viral. So every day I go back, we have more shares, more shares, more shares, more shares. That's the point. I'm trying to grow my brand and get more leads. That's exactly what this is about. Now, you don't have to make a 27-page document. I'm just trying to show you a good example. You could do something as simple as a recipe. You could show your best fitness exercise. You could show your best strategy to run ads. It doesn't matter. It just has to be something good enough that people will actually want. People really wanted this. That's why I have so much engagement. Now, once they comment, this is the script we're going to give you. If you look at the top where it says opening message, it says, hey, I saw you commented for my training name. Did you get that yet or still need it? We want to incentivize a reply. So you wait and they usually will say no, right? I mean, they're obviously going to say no, they didn't get it. Duh. And I say, great, no problem. Here's the link, send. By the way, I could probably send you another train that's a little more relevant to what you're working on. Are you a business owner too? Or if you're selling fitness, do you have fitness goals? And then we go through the same script we went through before, and then we offer them to book a call. So what we're doing is if you look at the 5 guys, right? And then you're looking at 2 steps is we're trying to create a cold lead into a warm lead to make it easier to set up a sale. That's the whole point. Because we already said cold DMs are the hardest. So if you don't have money and you can't run ads and you don't have the skill, we can't risk your money yet. So we have to figure out different ways to quickly create sales. These are 2 of my favorites. Hopefully that helps. Now, to summarize, if you're short on cash, I want you to start with cold DMs to make your first sale. Number 2, once you get those first sales, usually 1 to 3, you take that cash and you move to boosted posts. Number 3, once you can't do any more outreach, meaning you're starting to get spam blocks, meaning you can't reach out to any more of your followers. You're going to move to regular ads, right? DM ads or straight to page. Number 4, once you max out what you can do on your own, usually around $20,000 a month, you're going to start hiring a team. Number 5, understand sales is ethical manipulation. So ask the question that gets the response you want. Number 6, to get your first quick wins, use a combo of 5 guys, 2 steps, and boosted posts. That's the easiest way with the least amount of risk. There is no other way. Okay, guys, you can hire any business coach in the industry. I'm telling you, I've done every strategy, every method. It's all some form of that. Okay, it's asking someone to message you or you messaging them. There is no other way to start. Okay, unless you want to go do in person. But if you want to sit at home and work on your phone and make money from home, this is how you do it. Number 7, as you see success, do more. Don't do less. As success works, remember, to be rich, you do more of what's working in a faster time window. And then number 8, you rinse and repeat until you hit your desired level income. All right. For some of you, that might be 10,000. For some, it might be 100. For some of you, it might be 1 million. I don't care what your goal is. I'm just trying to show you guys how to get there. Okay. So that's the presentation for today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start bringing a couple people on. Go ahead and unmute yourself if you're able to.
What's up?
What's up, man? Cool.
Hey, what's up, brother? Everything's good.
Good. Go ahead and ask your question, man. I saw it.
I can fix it.
Okay. Oh, you're probably, that's your end. Okay, cool. I mean, I see all your KPIs are, let me just see what your question is. How to get more qualified people on calls, build more trust. Okay. So guys, let me give an overview of his question and then we'll start going through everyone. So sorry for the numbers. My close rate is 40%. I get 106 calls a month, 66 confirm, show up rates 39%. That's really bad. So we'll talk about that. You're closing quite a few. Your ad spend is really good. Yeah. So you're getting an 8x return. So that's great. Your offer is 2K for 3 months of coaching, 5K for lifetime. So your question is how to get more qualified people on calls and build more trust before the call. We're using a direct appointment funnel. There's no VSL. We tried, but didn't work. So when you say direct appointment, they click on the ad, and then what happens right after the ad? Go ahead and unmute yourself. Sorry, I muted you because you were echoing, but you can unmute yourself.
That's okay. So basically, what happens is they'll opt in to get a free ebook, and then it'll take them like to a funnel where it has like a bunch of testimonials and a bunch of stuff. I'd have to double check the entire funnel because we've ran so many.
Okay.
And I've just been like focusing on sales calls, but it will show them the calendar at a certain point, and then they'll just book. And we've gotten about like 150 booked appointments in the last like 2 months of using it.
Okay. So what I would do is first is so they opt in, you get their email and phone number or just their email. What do you get?
Yep. So it's name and email, phone number.
Okay. So what I would do is they opt in, you immediately put them in a email and text sequence. Typically what I like to do is in the first 7 days, I send an email a day, and then I send 2 or 3 texts throughout the week, pushing them to a call. All right. Once they book a call, your biggest issue, it looks like to me, is not your closing rate. It looks like you're pretty good, is your show up rate's horrendous. So to get a better show up rate, once they book a call, they should have homework videos to watch. So if you're not sure, guys, any of this stuff you want to see, go to elitecos.com, book a call. Please don't all do it at once because I don't want a bunch of fake apps, but go book a call. And when you book a call, just put in tests. You guys can just put in tests so my team will know to cancel it. And when you book, you'll get a thank you video at the end that will prime you for the call. So we say, hey, here's what to expect. If you have these objections, watch these videos. If you're concerned about this, and watch these reviews, et cetera. And you'll get the text and you'll see the process. Once they book a call, they should get a text message and an email of when the call time is and to watch these homework videos. You're pushing them back to that page. Then they should get a manual text from you or your sales guy, whoever it is, and say, hey, just want to confirm our time for tomorrow. I usually do that the night before. If they don't respond, I'll send another message with a question mark, hey, are we good to go? If they don't respond after 2, they're probably not going to show up. That's what I would do first. You said a lot of leads don't have enough trust and are skeptical. You need to have a video. So you said the video didn't work. I don't think you have to change too much. What I would do is if you run the ad and they opt in and get an ebook, after they opt in, you could have a video with a button to book a call. They need to see some type of video because if they don't, I'm not surprised they don't have trust. You have to figure out a way to work it in. The other thing is you spent $5,000 on ads, but you've made $40,000 almost. So even if your numbers stayed the same, my advice to you is to spend more money. If your goal is to make 100 grand, based on that, if you spent $15,000 to $20,000, you'd make 100 grand. So I don't know if I really care. There's leading indicators and then there's lagging indicators. The thing is, I don't really care what my show up rate is if I'm making 100 grand a month off 20 grand. Now, it's an indicator that maybe there's an issue and you need to fix it. I agree. But to be frank, if I spent 5 grand and made 35, I wouldn't be worried about my show up rate. I would be worried that I'm not spending more money faster, unless you can't handle the volume, because based off those numbers, you'll be at 100,000 if you spend 20 grand, give or take. So my question is more so, why aren't you spending more money? Because all the other numbers, yeah, it's somewhat important, but you're crushing. For anyone who's listening to the call, if you get a 4x return, you're crushing. You're at an 8x return. That's not even normal. That's like weird. It's strange in a good way. So my advice is those 2 things. Your second question was a lot of leads don't have trust and are skeptical. Yeah, so that's the video. And then you said how to train a sales guy who's working for us. So the way I train my sales team is first and foremost, I would put out a job post and people would apply. Once they applied, I'd say, hey, you seem like a good fit. Here's our script and videos, review them. And when you're ready, we'll give you a live call to record. Once they did that, I'd send them a call we would usually cancel and let them take it. The reason is I want to see their baseline. Every sales guy says he's the best at sales. I'm not interested in that. I want to see their baseline. So once I see their baseline, I'll decide if I'm going to bring them on and train them. Now, because you've already brought this guy on to train, what I do first is I let him shadow me and watch me close deals. Once he's ready, I will shadow him and watch him close deals. Now, why do I shadow him and not just let him take calls? Because if he ruins the deal or he's missing the sale, I'm going to be there to close it. So I'll step in. So what'll happen is I'll let him talk, but if he's making mistakes, I'll step in a professional manner to make sure that the deal comes through. So why is that important? He still gets paid, he's learning, and you're not losing a bunch of money. Once he's proven he can close deals on his own without you stepping in, then you step off. This could take between, depending on skill level, 1 to 3 months. It's not easy. It's going to take all day and it's going to take a lot of time. I also would recommend typically you don't hire a sales guy until you're at 100,000 because most sales guys want to make $10,000 plus. Not saying you can't, but typically this guy's probably a beginner is my guess. I'm highly doubtful he's super skilled, which means you're going to spend more time and effort getting him good than if you had just waited longer and took the calls yourself. One other thing, and then I'll shut up and let you respond to anything, is if you're getting that many no-shows on calls, you might just need a better vetting process. So in a month, if my team gets, let's just use an easy number, 1,000 book calls, we'll cancel probably about half, because if they don't give us good answers, I'm not going to book out my sales guys with people who aren't going to show or don't have money, because then I need a bigger sales team. It's not good to have big teams if you can't provide enough leads. So typically for one sales guy, they should be able to handle about $250,000 of revenue depending on the price point. Now you have a lower price point, so it might be closer to 100,000 or 125, but hopefully that answered a bunch of your questions. Do you have anything you want to clarify quickly before I move on?
Yeah, 100%. Thanks for all that feedback. I really appreciate it. Just to provide some more context, whenever people, it's a Calendly that we use. We have 10 vetting questions on that Calendly. And sometimes it can be just kind of hard to see, like, if people are really going to show up or not. Sometimes there's people that, seem like they're not going to show up and they do or whatever. And then it takes them to a thank you page. So on the thank you page, there's a video of me talking, saying, hey, thanks for booking, blah, blah, blah. They have workflows. I have workflows set up on Calendly to send email reminders, text reminders, resources, homework videos, like a whole bunch of stuff about me and my links and all this stuff. So there's that. And then whenever they book, I will text them pretty much right away. I'll be like, hey, John, just saw you booked. Wanted to confirm, like, this is your working number. Is this you? And then I'll kind of go into some emotional stuff like, hey, what motivated you to book this meeting with me? And then I feel like the trust part is like I mentioned yesterday, over 110 5-star reviews, 24 video testimonials. I got a bunch of like PR done. And then the sales guy that I'm hiring, he does have experience. He was able to collect like 70 grand in a month, and we're doing an Amazon FBA biz op, and he like knows about that too. Like he knows about Amazon FBA. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you're in a good spot, brother. I mean, I think the biggest thing though, based on everything, if everything stayed the same and you spent 4 times more, you'd make 100 grand a month. Now, granted, if you can't handle the volume, right? Because you have to have the team to fulfill and take calls, etc. But you have an 8x ROI. So to be frank, yes, you can optimize, but I don't really care what your show up rate is when think about it. Let's take business aside. Hey, John, I'm going to give you 5,000 and in return, you give me 40. Does that work? He'd be like, yeah. I mean, he doesn't really care about those numbers. So the only advice I would give you is if you're getting people not showing up, try to add more personalization. So maybe you run ads to DM, or you do manual reach outs with text to confirm the calls. You add in a VSL that tells more about the product, right? But all things aside, as bad as that show up rate is, because usually you want about 70% or more, you're crushing. So if you were my client right now, I would focus, and obviously we can't do it all on this call. I'd help you with the show up rate, and then I'd tell you to spend more money. Because you can optimize till the cows come home, but until you spend more money, it's not going to really matter. You're not going to make that much more, right? You might make a little more, but to be frank, it'd be a lot easier to just spend more until the ROI starts going down. Now, it will go down, but if you spend 20 grand and you get a 5x, I'd rather do that than spend 5 grand and get an 8x, right? So hopefully that was helpful, and really great job, man. I mean, like really, really good job. So I'm going to go ahead and
thank you.
Yeah, for sure, man. Great job.
Thank you so much.
You bet, man. Okay. So let's go to, okay. So Patty said how to push oneself to do the required to have a successful business. Yeah. So Patty, for me, I'll just be super transparent, guys. I just decided I didn't want to be poor. I genuinely got to a point in my life where I was so sick and tired of being broke that I just said, I'm willing to do anything it takes, even if it makes me homeless. And really until that point, I was not willing to do that. I just wasn't. I said I was, but I really wasn't. And so once I said that, I was really able to change everything. And so I think you just have to decide what life you want. You're not going to be super mega rich unless you build a business, like unless you're the CEO of Google or something like that, right? So most of us have to start a business. And so I just decided, okay, if I have to start a business to be rich and I have to be successful, then I'm just going to figure it out. And I just went no matter what obstacles I came up against. So we did that. Okay, answered that. How to start a conversation with a cold lead. Okay, so how to start a conversation with a cold lead is what I usually like to do is I will reach out on IGDMs or Facebook groups. I prefer IGDMs. I think we're gonna cover There's actually some of my YouTube videos, guys. If you go watch some of my newest YouTube videos as well, they cover cold outreach. And I'm usually going to look for a hashtag that fits the bill. So again, I help all kinds of business owners, but I like to stick with fitness examples because it's simple, right? If I start going off the edge, some people get confused. So if I'm doing a fitness, I might do fit mom, hashtag fit mom, or fit women, or lifting moms, whatever, where there's going to be a lot of fitness content, right? There will be a lot of people in shape, but there's also gonna be a lot of women who are aspiring to be in shape. So I want there to be a fitness interest, and then I will go down and start the conversations that way. And I would do 20 new conversations an hour. And if you do that 5 hours a day, that's 100 conversations. And then by doing that, you would get, let's say out of 100 people, you get 15 to 20 responses, you book 5 calls, and then you close 1. That would be the metrics I'd be looking for. Okay, let's see what else. How long do you stay on a DM message, and at what point do you get to the point? As long as it's moving towards the goal. So I gave you guys the script today to follow. If it starts deviating, or they're being unresponsive, or they're not working through your process, then I move on. But it's usually pretty easy, because when you say, what's your goal? And they go, well, I don't have a goal. And you go, oh, so you're not interested in fitness? They say, no, I'm not going to try to sell something to someone who's not interested. Okay, let's see. Do we need to change creative to fit multiple different formats, or is stories and reels sufficient? That's fine, Zach. Abraham said, at what point in your fitness business monthly income do you recommend venturing in Facebook ads? Usually 20,000 a month. Like an actual Facebook ad. Boosted posts you can do day one, but usually 20,000 a month is when I would start doing Facebook ads. Maybe a little sooner, but typically I was doing 50,000 a month, guys, before I did Facebook ads. So I think 10 to 20,000 a month is a good barometer, because it shows you have enough skill that when you run ads, you'll close some deals. If you can't get to 10K organically, usually there's a skill issue. And that's going to slow you down when you run ads. James asks, why send a link to book an appointment versus just asking them to give you a time of day that works best? You can do that, James. Yeah, you can 100%. It's just sometimes if you're doing a lot of conversations, it gets a little time consuming. And so as you get more conversations, you'll do that more often. You'll send a booking link, but you could definitely do time and day and just book it yourself. How many Instagram DMs can one make in a day without being penalized by Instagram? Typically, it's under 20 an hour, like 20 to 30. I wouldn't ever go over 30. I would do about 20 an hour. And then you need to make sure you change up the initial message, okay? If you keep copying and pasting, you're gonna get a spam block. That's what they're looking for. Change up the initial message, send one every, 1 to 3 minutes, and then under 20 an hour. Now you can respond as much as you want, but initial outreaches, it's usually under 20, okay? Mike said, when messaging new people on IG, the leads will look at our profiles. What are your thoughts on content strategy? Guys, to be frank, I had 9 pictures on my IG and I didn't post for a whole year. So make enough posts that you look normal, but outside of 1 post a day, if that, it's too much. You don't need to be posting a bunch of content, because think about it. If you have 1,000 followers and you post your content, unless you're going viral, you're going to have the same people see the same stuff over and over. It's not necessary. A lot of people spend way too much time on content and not enough time on output. So if I have more conversations than you, I will beat you. I don't care how good your content is, because I'm doing more output. Okay. More combos lead to more calls, leads to more sales. Excuse me. Fausto asks, is it better to have wide open detailed targeting or more specific? And how about using Facebook to deliver beyond your audience? Yeah. I mean, this is an in-depth question. It depends. It depends. You just test it and you see which gives you better results. When you say spend 20K, how do you decide the 20K? Do you start with high spend day? No, guys, like you would start slowly. So you might spend $100 a day, and then you go to 150 a day, and then 200 a day. Like you go from 3,000 a month to 6,000 to 10,000. You don't just go all the way up to 20,000. Start very slow, get proof of concept, make sure you're getting sales, and then you scale from there. Jasper asks, any good books you'd recommend regarding asking great questions? Yeah, I mean, $100 million leads is going to be a great book on this. My book, Infinite Income. If you guys haven't read it, I highly recommend you get it. I go through and I break that down. It's not as well written as I'd like, but I definitely would get both and read through those books. Very cheap, it's very efficient, they're very short. Helen said, hey, Tanner, I'm earning around 15-month organic only. Do boosted posts / ads reduce your organic reach on posts? I don't know. I mean, some people will say that, but realistically, I think if you want to scale, you're going to have to spend money on ads anyway. So I don't think it really matters. I think it's irrelevant, because you're going to have to do it to get to the next level. Trinity asks, would you recommend doing ads to an email list and selling from there? So like not your email list, I think is what you mean. You can do that. I haven't done that often. I usually do social media ads, but again, it's the same concept. If you get X amount of people to reply and you get X amount of calls, you make X amount of sales, it can work. Yeah, 100%. I haven't done it very much, but you definitely can. Let's see, if I run IG Messenger ads, is there a limit on how many I can answer? Like no, you can answer as many messages as you want, guys. You just can't send past 20 an hour typically. Trinity said my own email list. Yeah, so Trinity, going back to your question, if they're already on your email list, you just send an email. I want to make sure I'm answering your question correctly, but that would mean they've already given you their information. So you just send an email. You don't need to run an ad. If by sending an email, you mean an ad, yes. If you mean by spending more money, no. Hopefully that answers your question. Nelson says, you mentioned starting with DMs and then boosted posts for sales. If I already jumped in paying a firm 1750, 1K ad spend, what do you think? So, I mean, think of it this way, Nelson. You're paying the firm more money than you're spending. So that means if you spent the money yourself and you made a complete mess, you'd probably get better results than spending 1750 with them and letting them run your ads, right? I mean, think about it. If they get you a $10 lead and you're spending $17.50 with them, you could probably get a $25 lead and it'd be the same thing as if you just ran the ad yourself, right? And you'd learn the skill, which is the most important thing. So, obviously finish out your contract if that's the right thing to do, but you really should be running the ads yourself. And to be frank, at that low of ad spend, they're probably in there for a couple minutes a day and that's it. So you're paying an ignorance tax basically because it's easier to pay someone to do it than learn it. But in the long run, I would learn it 100%. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay. Can we get your book on Amazon? Yes. What's a good budget to start with? Guys, start at $100 a day on ads. If you're doing it, if you have less money, start less. Take the total amount of money you can risk losing in a month and then divide by 30 and spend that per day. So that's it. Really appreciate you. Thanks for being here. Keep in mind, these are the strategies and then the actual tactical and say this, say that. Those things are going to be on the back end inside the course. And hopefully you guys are getting a lot of value and I'm doing my best to make sure it's action-packed and valuable for you. Hopefully you guys got a lot out of it. Thanks for being here. I'll see you guys. Bye.